Prior to trading, I used to work for a manufacturing company. I was one of the operations manager. And I remember him telling me, many people think us sales guys make the profit when we sell the product, when we decide what that end price is going to be, right? After you factor in your cost to build something or purchase something from whatever factory. But in reality, you make your profit and your money when you purchase. If you purchase at a good price, that can determine how much room you're going to have in the back end on the profit, because the industry is going to set what those prices are. What am I going to pay for this unit? What is acceptable? And you also got to consider the competitors. Purchasing at a very low price as possible for good materials was the ultimate goal. And that stuck with me because it reminds me a lot about trading, right? And getting that initial entry. That first entry when you get into a trade doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be really good, because it's going to give you room to be able to stay in a trade, to survive some of the pullbacks, and to increase your profitability. Let's get into it in this video. Hey guys, Carlos here with Variable Traders, and today we had an amazing watch list, guys. Tesla, XBEV, Oxy, BYD, CGC, and Apple. I mean, all trading very, very well, guys. You definitely had a lot to choose from. There was plenty for you to take a pick on. Here is our trade on NIO, and as I mentioned earlier, having a good entry is so critical. I'm going to show you guys here the 1 minute, so we could really get into the detail of this entry, and you can see how good it was as far as the 5-minute opening range breakup. So as the 5-minute open range breakup is developing, we're getting this beautiful pullback down to the moving averages and the VWAP. And you can see the buying pressure coming in. You know, NIO had gapped down quite a bit. It was after earnings last week. So they have a nice gap up that I thought they were going to close today, which they didn't quite do. And obviously the SPY provided no help in the midsection of the day as it was selling off. We can actually pull the SPY here. So we'll type in SPY, here it is. And so that's the SPY here. This sell-off here definitely did not help our situation in trying to get going in this trade. So this was a sell-off around 11 to noon. Did recover, and then towards the later parts of the afternoon, we had this nice run in NIO and many stocks. As you can see here, BYD looking very similar to what the SPY was doing. CGC, by the way, initial drop was great, and then from there did nothing else. But going back to our entry, it's so critical to have a good entry, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be good enough that you can survive some of the pullbacks and allow you to make a good profit on the initial partial. Stocks tend to do this for me. You know, this is what they do. So this is why I am always taking a partial the minute we're getting into profit, because I know it's going to come back down. Now, it is Monday, first day of the trading week. I'm in my first trade. I make the decision. I'm going to take out a big chunk here, guys. One and done for the day. Lock in the profits, 50 cents move. You cannot start the trading week any better than that. But I did leave a couple of shares just in case we were going to run, which we didn't. Now, if we look at the 5-minute to get the bigger picture now, because we had such a good entry, and I'll show you this right here, because we had such a good entry, we were able to easily hold through some of these pullbacks that went almost to our stop, you know, with no problem. With less shares now, we're risking a lot less, but we're still hoping that this thing can get going and break towards the highs and then get going towards the gap that we're trying to close on the daily. If I show you the daily here on NIO, this is what I'm talking about. Let's zoom into the daily here. This is the gap that I was hoping we were going to close today, but again, the SPY provided no help. But NIO wants to close this gap. I had a bias that it wanted to do that, and it ran up pretty nice today, very, very clean. Just the SPY sold off too hard for it to be able to get that 22. So I left a little bit on in case we were able to get to 22. Unfortunately, we didn't, and we were all out before the day was out. Now, before you think, oh wow, Carlos, you have great patience in holding on to this trade for so long, not quite. In this period here, my brother surprised me to go to lunch, so I went to lunch, put a hard stop on, and just relaxed for the rest of the day. So this was real nice, real. My brother came over from the city, and we had an incredible lunch during this time. So I set a hard stop while peeking at it from my phone during lunch, and you can see here we're back at our desk now. To exit these positions and be done for the day. I wish this run would have started sooner. If this run would have started earlier, and if the SPY would have recovered a little bit earlier, we would have definitely been getting to higher levels over here. But again, not a bad trade, not a bad initial partial here, given that we ran 50 cents so aggressively right out of the gates, and all due to this amazing entry, right? This entry here allowed us to make a good chunk of the change in this one initial move. So having that entry, guys, is critical. If you miss your entry, on your trade, you know, just wait. You can wait for other opportunities. You can look at other tickers to see if there's anything else that provides a better entry. This is why sometimes, for example, there might be a sector in play. For example, we have XPEV and NIO. They're both EVs. I think XPEV had earnings, I believe, this morning. Didn't do so well at the bell here. But sometimes when you're watching stocks from the same sector, you know, one of them could provide you an entry that the other one is not providing you right now. So this is why sometimes, if like for example the past stocks are in play in the last week, you could watch several and see which one can give you an entry, or have some sitting on your secondary list that can possibly provide you an entry as well, a better entry if the one that you had on your main list is running. So a lot of ways to trade, guys. So many things you can do. At the end of the day, having a good entry is the start of your trade. That can determine how much that initial partial is going to be. It's going to be a very profitable or not. And not chasing things. You know, do not chase things. If they leave you behind, you know, there's going to be another trade later down the line. Later in the day, you saw more opportunities as well as the SPY was bouncing here. Look at this beautiful strength on the SPY. A lot of tickers gave you more opportunities after 12 double bottoming. Look at BYND there. Look at Apple as well. Great opportunities there for you to be able to take a trade. So you guys already know what a good entry is and what a bad entry is. You know when you're chasing, you know when you're not. Being able to hold yourself from chasing something is very difficult. I do it quite often. I chase something and I know I'm chasing something, and sometimes I'll even reduce my size because I know my entry is not great. But having a great entry gives you that peace of mind that, hey, we can get to our profit target a lot sooner, and we can hold through some of these pullbacks knowing that, you know, the stock market tends to do this, right? And in doing that, if we have a great entry, we can survive some of these drops here in the hopes of a breakout, if that is what the market is calling for. So, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you had a great trading day, and if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up. Consider subscribing if it's your first time watching this video. We are live every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. with the engineering the markets and also the pre-market prep to get us prepared with our watch list. We had a great watch list today. Looking forward to see how the market is going to be tomorrow, going back into the green as we're seeing here, and also how some of these stocks, especially NIO, is going to be tomorrow. Are we going to continue to try to close this gap over to 22? So I'm a little bit long bias on it unless some news changes. And I got to do something because I have only traded, I think, BABA and NIO for the last 2 weeks. I'm going to run a report. I'm going to run a report and see. Take care, guys.